Marcus Chen had always been drawn to mysteries hidden beneath the surface. As a senior mining engineer for Titan Industries, he spent most of his days analyzing rock formations and planning excavation routes. But nothing in his 20-year career had prepared him for what lay buried 3 miles beneath the Nevada desert. The morning started like any other Tuesday in March 2019. Marcus arrived at the remote mining site before dawn, his coffee still steaming in the crisp desert air. The crew was preparing to blast through a particularly stubborn layer of granite that had been blocking their progress for weeks. This wasn't just any mining operation, they were searching for a rare mineral called lithium carbonate, essential for manufacturing batteries that powered everything from smartphones to electric cars. Sarah Martinez, the site's geologist, met Marcus at the equipment trailer. Her excited expression immediately caught his attention. Sarah was known for her calm, analytical approach to everything, so seeing her practically bouncing on her feet was unusual. "Marcus, you need to see this," she said, spreading a collection of core samples across the metal table. "These readings don't make sense." Marcus examined the cylindrical rock samples that had been drilled from deep underground. At first glance, they looked like ordinary granite and sedimentary rock. But Sarah pointed to several areas where the stone appeared almost crystallized, with an unusual metallic sheen. "The mineral composition is unlike anything we've cataloged before," Sarah explained, pulling up data on her laptop. "But that's not the strangest part. Look at this." She showed him thermal imaging results from their deep probe scanners. 3 miles down, there was a massive hollow space, a cavern so large it could house several football stadiums. The walls of this underground chamber seemed to be lined with the same mysterious mineral found in the core samples. "How is that possible?" Marcus asked, studying the thermal readings. "There shouldn't be any natural caverns at that depth, especially not in this geological formation." Sarah shook her head. "That's what I thought too. But the scans are consistent across all our equipment. There's definitely something down there, and it's big." The discovery should have been exciting news for Titan Industries. Large underground chambers often contained valuable mineral deposits. But Marcus felt a strange uneasiness as he studied the data. There was something about the perfect circular shape of the cavern that seemed unnatural, almost artificial. Over the next several days, Marcus and his team modified their drilling approach. Instead of the standard explosive blasting they had planned, they decided to use precision drilling to create a smaller access tunnel. The company executives were eager to explore the chamber, especially after preliminary tests suggested the mysterious mineral might be worth more than gold. The drilling process was slow and methodical. Each day, they penetrated deeper into the earth, carefully monitoring for any changes in rock composition or structural stability. Marcus insisted on following every safety protocol, despite pressure from corporate headquarters to speed up the operation. By Friday of that week, they had created a narrow tunnel that extended 2.5 miles into the earth. The tunnel was barely wide enough for a single person to crawl through, but it was stable and properly reinforced with steel supports. That evening, as the day shift was preparing to leave, one of the junior engineers named David Park came running to Marcus with concerning news. "Sir, you need to hear this," David said, holding up a sensitive audio recording device they used to monitor underground stability. "We've been picking up some strange sounds from the deep tunnel." Marcus put on the headphones and listened. At first, he heard only the normal settling sounds that occurred in any underground excavation. But then, he heard something else, a low, rhythmic vibration that seemed almost like breathing. The sound came and went in regular intervals, lasting exactly 12 seconds each time. "Equipment malfunction?" Marcus asked, though he already suspected otherwise. David shook his head. "I thought so too, but I've checked all our instruments twice. The sounds are definitely coming from somewhere deep in that tunnel, probably near the chamber." Sarah joined them and listened to the recording. Her scientific training made her skeptical of any supernatural explanations, but she couldn't deny what they were hearing. "It could be underground water movement," she suggested. "Or perhaps gas escaping from mineral deposits. We should set up additional monitoring equipment before we go any deeper." But Marcus was already making plans in his mind. The company wanted results, and every day of delay cost thousands of dollars. More importantly, his curiosity was getting the better of him. In 20 years of mining, he had never encountered anything like this mysterious chamber. That weekend, Marcus spent hours researching the geological history of the area. He discovered that the Nevada desert had been home to several ancient civilizations, including Native American tribes who considered certain areas sacred and forbidden. Local legends spoke of powerful spirits that lived deep underground, guarding treasures that were never meant to be disturbed. Marcus had never been superstitious, but something about those old stories made him uncomfortable. The more he learned about the area's history, the more he realized that previous mining attempts in the region had ended unsuccessfully, with companies abandoning their operations for reasons that were never clearly explained. On Monday morning, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He authorized the installation of a small elevator system that could transport a person safely down the narrow tunnel to the chamber. The elevator was basically a reinforced cage attached to a powerful winch system, similar to equipment used in deep cave exploration. The installation took 3 days. During that time, the strange breathing sounds from the tunnel became more frequent and noticeably louder. The 12-second intervals never changed, but the intensity seemed to be increasing. By Thursday, everything was ready for the first human descent into the chamber. Marcus had originally planned to send David, who was younger and more physically fit. But, at the last moment, he decided to make the journey himself. "I'm the senior engineer on this project," he told his team. "If something goes wrong down there, I should be the one taking the risk." Sarah argued against the plan, pointing out that they still didn't know enough about the atmospheric conditions in the chamber or the stability of the surrounding rock. But corporate pressure was mounting, and Marcus felt responsible for seeing the project through personally. The descent began at 6 a.m., just as the sun was rising over the desert. Marcus wore a fully equipped mining suit with oxygen supply, communication devices, and emergency equipment. The elevator moved slowly, taking nearly an hour to reach the bottom of the tunnel. As he descended, Marcus noticed that the temperature steadily increased, which was normal for underground excavations. But there was also a strange smell in the air, something like burning metal mixed with ancient earth. The breathing sounds grew louder with every foot of descent, until they filled his headphones with a rhythm that seemed almost hypnotic. When the elevator finally reached the chamber entrance, Marcus found himself looking into a vast underground space that defied everything he thought he knew about geology. The cavern was enormous, stretching beyond the reach of his powerful flashlights. The walls were covered with the crystalline mineral they had detected in the core samples, but seeing it in person revealed something the scanners had missed. The mineral formations weren't random. They created distinct patterns across the chamber walls, geometric shapes and flowing designs that looked almost like artwork. Some areas seemed to glow with a faint internal light, casting eerie shadows throughout the massive space. Marcus stepped out of the elevator and onto a natural stone ledge that ran along one side of the chamber. The air was warm but breathable, which surprised him given the depth. Most concerning of all, the breathing sounds that had been coming through their equipment were much clearer now. They definitely weren't caused by water or gas movements. The sounds were coming from somewhere deep within the chamber, beyond where his lights could reach. And they were definitely organic, the sound of something large and alive, breathing in perfect 12-second intervals. Marcus spent 30 minutes exploring the accessible areas of the chamber, taking photographs and collecting mineral samples. The geometric patterns on the walls became more intricate the deeper he went, almost like a language written in stone and crystal. But it was what he found near the center of the chamber that made his blood run cold. Scattered across the floor were the remains of previous explorers, ancient mining equipment, rotted clothing, and human bones that looked centuries old. Someone had been here before, many times over many years. And none of them had left. As Marcus prepared to return to the surface, the breathing sound suddenly stopped. The chamber fell completely silent for the first time since they had discovered it. In that moment of absolute quiet, Marcus heard something else, the sound of something large moving in the darkness beyond his lights. He quickly returned to the elevator and began his ascent, his heart pounding as he radioed to the surface team. Whatever was down in that chamber, it was aware of his presence. And it had been waiting in the darkness for a very long time. When Marcus reached the surface, he was pale and shaking. The mineral samples in his collection bag seemed to pulse with that same internal light he had seen on the chamber walls. Sarah and David gathered around him, eager to hear about his discoveries. But Marcus just stared at the samples, wondering if they had made a terrible mistake. The chamber wasn't just a geological formation. It was something much older and much more dangerous than any of them had imagined. And whatever lived in those depths had just been awakened. The following morning brought chaos to the mining site. Marcus had spent a sleepless night analyzing the mineral samples he had collected from the chamber, and what he discovered challenged everything the scientific community understood about geology and metallurgy. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Titan Industries' chief mineralogist, arrived on a charter flight from the company's headquarters in Denver. She was known throughout the industry for her expertise in rare earth elements, but even her extensive knowledge couldn't explain the properties of the crystalline material Marcus had brought to the surface. "This is impossible," Dr. Rodriguez said, staring at the laboratory results displayed on her laptop screen. "According to these tests, the mineral contains elements that aren't found naturally on Earth. The atomic structure suggests it was formed under conditions that simply don't exist in our planet's geological processes." Marcus watched her work, feeling increasingly uneasy about their discovery. The samples seemed to respond to electromagnetic fields in ways that defied basic physics. When Dr. Rodriguez placed them near certain electronic equipment, the devices either malfunctioned or began displaying readings that made no sense. "There's something else," Marcus said, showing her the photographs he had taken in the chamber. "Look at these patterns on the walls." Dr. Rodriguez studied the images carefully, adjusting the brightness and contrast to better examine the geometric designs carved into the crystalline formations. Her expression grew more concerned with each photograph. "These aren't natural formations," she concluded. "Someone or something created these patterns deliberately. But the precision and scale would require technology far beyond anything humans possessed even 100 years ago." While the scientists debated the implications of their findings, Sarah Martinez was dealing with a more immediate problem. The seismic monitoring equipment around the mining site had been detecting unusual activity since Marcus's return from the chamber. The readings suggested movement deep underground, but not the kind associated with natural geological processes. "It's almost like something is moving around down there," Sarah explained to the assembled team. "The vibrations are rhythmic and deliberate, following patterns that don't match any known underground phenomena." The breathing sounds had also changed since Marcus's visit to the chamber. Instead of the steady 12-second intervals they had been monitoring for days, the sounds now came in complex sequences, sometimes rapid, sometimes slow, but always seeming to follow some kind of intelligent pattern. David Park, who had been monitoring the audio equipment around the clock, made an disturbing observation. "I think it's trying to communicate," he said during an emergency team meeting. "Listen to this recording from last night." The audio playback revealed something extraordinary. The breathing sounds had evolved into what could only be described as an attempt at language. There were distinct patterns, repetitions, and variations that suggested the creature in the chamber was experimenting with different vocalizations. "It's learning," Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. "Whatever is down there, it's been listening to our conversations through the communication equipment Marcus wore during his descent. It's trying to mimic human speech patterns." The implications were staggering. They weren't just dealing with an unknown mineral deposit or even an unusual geological formation. They had awakened something intelligent, something that had been dormant in the depths for an unknown length of time. Corporate headquarters was not pleased with these developments. William Hayes, Titan Industries Executive Vice President, arrived at the site that afternoon with a team of security specialists and military contractors. His instructions were clear: extract as much of the valuable mineral as possible, regardless of any unusual circumstances. "I don't care if there's a singing dinosaur down there," Hayes told Marcus during a tense meeting in the site office. "Those mineral samples are worth more than the entire annual budget of this company. We're going to get as much as we can carry." Marcus tried to explain the potential dangers, but Hayes was focused only on the financial opportunities. The executive had already arranged for heavy drilling equipment to be transported to the site, along with a team of miners who specialized in dangerous extraction operations. That evening, against Marcus's strong recommendations, Hayes authorized an aggressive mining operation. Instead of the careful, scientific approach Marcus had been advocating, the new plan involved using industrial explosives to blast open a larger entrance to the chamber. "You have 48 hours to extract everything of value," Hayes told the mining crew. "After that, we're sealing this site permanently and moving operations elsewhere." Marcus knew this was a catastrophic mistake, but his objections fell on deaf ears. He spent the night trying to contact government agencies that might have jurisdiction over such an unusual discovery, but Hayes had anticipated this move. All external communications from the site had been restricted for security reasons. The blasting operation began at dawn the next day. The first explosion successfully widened the tunnel entrance, creating an access route large enough for vehicles and heavy equipment. But the blast also triggered something unexpected deep within the chamber. The rhythmic breathing sound suddenly stopped, replaced by a low rumbling that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The seismic monitors registered vibrations unlike anything they had previously recorded, not the chaotic shaking of an earthquake, but organized, purposeful movement. Sarah, who was monitoring the geological instruments, called out a warning. "The entire chamber is becoming unstable. Whatever's down there is moving, and it's big enough to affect the structural integrity of the surrounding rock." But the mining crew had already begun their descent with the first load of extraction equipment. Hayes stood at the tunnel entrance, coordinating the operation through radio communication and ignoring the increasingly urgent warnings from Marcus's team. The first sign of real trouble came when the lead miner, a veteran named Tom Bradley, reached the chamber floor. His radio transmission crackled with static, but his words were clear enough to chill everyone listening. "There's something in here with us," Bradley's voice came through the speakers. "Something big moving in the darkness. And the patterns on the walls are glowing brighter than before." Hayes ordered Bradley to continue with the extraction operation, but the miner's next transmission made that impossible. The sound that came through the radio was unlike anything any of them had ever heard, a deep, resonant call that seemed to vibrate through the rock itself and emerge from the speakers with enough force to rattle equipment on the surface. "That's not geological," Dr. Rodriguez said, her face pale as she listened to the audio. "That's biological. Something very large and very much alive." The miners in the chamber began reporting equipment malfunctions. Their lights were dimming despite fully charged batteries, their communication devices were cutting in and out, and the air itself seemed to be getting thicker, as if something was affecting the atmospheric pressure. Then came Bradley's final transmission. "It's coming toward us. Oh God, it's massive. The whole chamber is lighting up like daylight. We need to get out of here now." The radio went silent. Hayes tried repeatedly to re-establish communication, but there was no response from the mining team below. The seismic monitors showed increasing activity, as if something enormous was moving through the chamber with growing agitation. Marcus made a decision that probably saved lives. Without authorization from Hayes, he activated the emergency lockdown procedures for the mining operation. Steel barriers slammed down across the tunnel entrance, sealing off access to the chamber and trapping whatever was below ground. "What have you done?" Hayes demanded, furious at the interruption of his extraction operation. "I've prevented a disaster," Marcus replied. "Whatever we've awakened down there, it's not something we can control or extract minerals from safely." But even with the tunnel sealed, the situation continued to deteriorate. The geological monitoring equipment detected massive structural changes occurring deep underground. The chamber wasn't just unstable, it was expanding. Whatever lived in those depths was physically altering the rock formations, creating new tunnels and passages. Late that night, Sarah made a discovery that changed their understanding of the entire situation. While reviewing historical geological surveys of the area, she found references to similar discoveries dating back over a century. Mining operations in the region had repeatedly encountered unusual chambers and crystalline formations, always accompanied by reports of strange sounds and unexplained phenomena. Every single operation was eventually abandoned, Sarah reported to the team. The companies involved always cited technical difficulties or geological instability, but the pattern is too consistent to be coincidental. Dr. Rodriguez found additional evidence in her analysis of the mineral samples. Carbon dating and other advanced techniques suggested the crystalline formations were incredibly ancient, possibly predating human civilization by thousands of years. Whatever created those patterns in the chamber has been down there for a very long time, she explained. And, based on the mineral composition, it's not originally from this planet. As dawn approached, the sealed tunnel began showing signs of structural stress. The steel barriers were designed to withstand enormous pressure, but something was testing their limits from below. Metal supports groaned and buckled as tremendous force was applied from the chamber side. Marcus realized they had a choice to make. They could continue trying to contain whatever they had awakened, risking a catastrophic breach that might release it onto the surface. Or they could find a way to communicate with the intelligence in the chamber and attempt to understand what they were dealing with. The decision was taken out of their hands when the tunnel barriers finally gave way. With a sound like thunder, the steel supports collapsed inward, and something began moving through the tunnel toward the surface. The seismic monitors registered movement unlike anything in their databases, purposeful, intelligent, and heading directly for the mining site. Whatever had been sleeping in the deep vault was now fully awake. And it was coming to the surface to meet the humans who had disturbed its ancient rest. The ground beneath the mining site began to crack and shift as something enormous moved through the underground tunnel system. Marcus and his team watched in fascination and terror as seismic readings showed the creature making its way toward the surface with deliberate, measured movements. William Hayes had called for immediate military intervention, but the nearest base was 3 hours away by helicopter. The small security team he had brought was equipped for dealing with human threats, not whatever was emerging from miles beneath the Nevada desert. Everyone needs to evacuate the immediate area, Marcus announced over the site's communication system. Move all personnel and equipment to the safety perimeter, at least half a mile from the main excavation. But Dr. Elena Rodriguez refused to leave. She had spent the morning analyzing every piece of data they had collected, and her scientific curiosity outweighed her fear. This is the discovery of the century, she argued. Whatever is coming to the surface has been hiding beneath our planet for thousands of years. We can't just run away without trying to understand it. Sarah Martinez agreed with Rodriguez, though her reasons were more practical. The geological changes it's causing could affect the entire region, she explained. If we don't understand what's happening, we can't predict where it might go or what it might do next. As the evacuation proceeded, David Park made a crucial observation. The strange vocalizations they had been monitoring were becoming more sophisticated by the hour. What had started as simple breathing sounds had evolved into complex acoustic patterns that seemed almost like a language. It's been listening to us for days, David realized. Every conversation we've had near the tunnel, every radio transmission from the miners below, it's been learning from all of it. This revelation prompted Dr. Rodriguez to make a bold suggestion. Instead of waiting for military forces to arrive and potentially escalate the situation, they should attempt to communicate directly with whatever was approaching the surface. Marcus initially rejected the idea as too dangerous, but circumstances soon made the decision for him. At precisely noon, the ground around the main excavation site split open, revealing a tunnel large enough to accommodate something the size of a subway car. What emerged from the depths defied every expectation they had formed based on their limited observations. The creature wasn't the prehistoric monster or alien entity they had imagined. Instead, it was something far more extraordinary and infinitely more complex. The being that rose from the underground chamber stood nearly 30 feet tall when fully extended, but its body was unlike anything in Earth's biological record. Its skin appeared to be made of the same crystalline material they had found in the chamber, but it was clearly living tissue that shifted and changed color based on its movements and surroundings. Most remarkably, the creature showed clear signs of advanced intelligence. It moved with careful precision, avoiding damage to the mining equipment and positioning itself where it could observe the human team without threatening them. Its eyes, large, multifaceted organs that seemed to contain their own internal light, focused on each team member with obvious curiosity. Dr. Rodriguez was the first to approach the being, despite urgent warnings from the security team. She walked slowly toward it with her hands visible and empty, speaking in calm, measured tones. "We're scientists," she said clearly. "We didn't know you were down there. We're sorry if we disturbed your home." The creature's response was immediate and shocking. Using vocalizations that clearly mimicked human speech patterns, it responded in recognizable English words, though the accent and rhythm were unlike anything terrestrial. "Home, disturbed, yes," the being said, its voice resonating through the crystalline structure of its body. "Long sleep, broken. Why, humans, dig so deep?" The conversation that followed changed humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Through careful questions and patient responses, the team learned that the creature was not native to Earth, but had been living beneath the planet's surface for over 3,000 years. "I am the Guardian," it explained, its English improving noticeably with each exchange. "Placed here, to watch, to protect, to wait." When Dr. Rodriguez asked what it was guarding, the creature's crystalline skin shifted to a deep blue coloration that somehow conveyed sadness. "My people once lived among stars. War came, great destruction, few survivors sent to safe worlds to wait for better time." The being, who eventually told them its name was something like Thessarian in human pronunciation, had been in a form of hibernation for millennia, waiting for a signal from its people that never came. The mining operation had inadvertently damaged the systems that maintained its dormant state. "Chamber below, not just home," Thessarian explained, "is communication center and power source for watching, for waiting." Marcus realized the implications immediately. The crystalline formations weren't just unusual minerals, they were advanced technology that had been functioning beneath the Earth for thousands of years, monitoring conditions both on the planet and in space. "Are there others like you?" Sarah asked. "Other guardians on other worlds?" Thessarian's coloration shifted to what they began to recognize as uncertainty. "Perhaps signals stopped long ago. Do not know if others survived the Great War." Over the next several hours, as military helicopters began arriving at the site, Thessarian shared fragments of its people's history. The crystalline beings had once been part of a vast interstellar civilization that had been destroyed in a conflict with an enemy they described only as the darkness between stars. Survivors had been sent to dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy, each carrying technology and knowledge needed to rebuild their civilization when conditions became favorable. Earth had been chosen as one of these refuge worlds because of its abundant life and relative safety from cosmic threats. But humans were primitive then, Thessarian explained. Too early for contact. Instructions were, wait until inhabitants reach proper development. Dr. Rodriguez asked the question that was on everyone's mind, are humans ready now? Thessarian studied the assembled team, the military equipment arriving in the distance, and the mining operation that had awakened it from its ancient sleep. Its crystalline form shifted through several colors before settling on what they had learned indicated thoughtfulness. Humans have advanced much. Technology, impressive. But, also, capacity for destruction, concerning. The arrival of military forces complicated the situation significantly. Colonel Robert Manning, the commanding officer, immediately established a security perimeter and began preparations for what he clearly viewed as a potential alien threat. Marcus found himself in the unexpected position of mediating between human military authority and an ancient alien guardian. Both sides had legitimate concerns, but neither fully understood the other's perspective or capabilities. Thessarian, for its part, seemed genuinely interested in human civilization but also deeply concerned about the implications of full contact. Its people's technology was far in advance of human capabilities, and history had shown that such disparities often led to conflict. Perhaps, gradual introduction, better approach, Thessarian suggested during one of their conversations. Humans must choose their own path to advancement. The solution they eventually reached was unprecedented in human history. Instead of the dramatic first contact scenario portrayed in countless books and movies, Thessarian proposed a careful, measured approach to sharing knowledge and technology. Working with Dr. Rodriguez and a hastily assembled team of scientists, Thessarian began transferring selected information about advanced materials science, energy generation, and sustainable technology. The knowledge was provided in manageable portions, allowing human scientists to understand and integrate each advancement before moving to the next level. The deep chamber became the site of the most important scientific collaboration in human history. Thessarian rebuilt and activated portions of its ancient technology, creating a research facility where human and alien science could work together safely. Marcus found his role transformed from mining engineer to project coordinator for humanity's most significant endeavor. The site that had once been focused on extracting lithium for batteries became the birthplace of energy systems that could power entire cities without environmental impact. As months passed, other changes became apparent. Thessarian's presence had awakened dormant systems throughout the chamber complex, and similar guardians on other worlds were beginning to respond to signals indicating that one refuge world had achieved successful contact. Others are awakening, Thessarian reported during one of their regular briefings. Guardian Network, becoming active again after 3 millennia silence. The implications were staggering. Humanity was about to become part of a galactic civilization that had been waiting for them to reach the proper level of development. But the process would be gradual, careful, and dependent on humanity's ability to handle the responsibilities that came with advanced knowledge. Sarah Martinez, now serving as the project's geological coordinator, often stood at the edge of the chamber complex and marveled at how completely their understanding of reality had changed. What had started as a routine mining operation to extract materials for batteries had become the foundation for humanity's expansion into the cosmos. The dragon in the deep vault had not been a monster to be feared, but a guardian waiting to guide humanity toward its true potential among the stars. And the real adventure was just beginning. Dr. Rodriguez completed her final report on the initial phase of the project by noting that Thessarian's people had a saying: every civilization must prove itself worthy of the cosmos by how it treats the guardians placed in its path. Humanity had passed its first test. Now came the greater challenge of proving worthy of the knowledge and responsibility that came with membership in a galactic community that spanned thousands of worlds and millions of years of history. The deep vault beneath the Nevada desert had been unlocked, and, with it, humanity's future among the stars.